guys, thanks so much for watching The Social Life, the place to be for entrepreneurs with a purpose. Today I'm going to talk to you about something that I think every founder and every nonprofit organization goes through at some point or another. Keeping your board engaged. I got a question from Jeremy a couple of weeks ago, and it was asking about how to keep his board engaged, feeling like really he's the only one that's really engaged. And I gave a couple tips in that specific post, but I wanted to go a little bit deeper and just give you guys 10 tips or more. I don't know how many I'm going to have in this video, but I'm really passionate about this because I feel like I talk about this a lot in relation to how to keep your board engaged and what you should and should not expect of your board. So I'm going to jump into that, and this will probably be a long video, so you might want to grab some coffee or something and sit down with me to watch this. So my first tip is, number one, this is just a hard truth about running any organization in general. This is your baby, okay? This is your baby, and no one is going to be as passionate about it as you are. And so you have to keep that in mind, because I know there are always a lot of expectations. You want people to come in and feel just as passionate about your organization, and you want them to love everything you bring to them. And, I think part of the best things of having a good board is that your board will tell you if something's not right. I just recently came to my board with a full fundraising plan that I was so excited about and I loved. And, we had to change and tweak a few things. And, when you invest that kind of time into something, you don't want to hear that it's not perfect, or that something's wrong with it, or it could be better, or whatever the case. But that is what your board is all about. And the first thing I really want to talk about is founder syndrome. Just because you started an organization and you see a certain way that you want it to go does not mean that that's always the best for the organization or for your constituents that you serve. So you have to be thinking from the perspective of, who do I need around me, and who is going to be able to help me maneuver and manage this organization in a way that will be beneficial to our constituents, which are the people that you serve. So as a founder, you have a lot of different hats to wear. You are trying to make sure your board is happy and you're listening to their concerns and their suggestions, and then you have to bring that into your organization and somehow put that back out. You need to keep in contact with them. You also have your constituents that you do actually do the work for, and that you're providing services for, and you want to make sure that you're doing, by all accounts, the right things for them. And then you also have your supporters that you need to keep in contact with and make sure they understand what's going on with the organization. There's a lot of communication and a lot of background work that goes along with what you have to do as a founder. So realize that, number one, you're already, this position that you've created for yourself is already a tough position. And I think that you need to hear that sometimes, because we do forget. We think like, okay, I've started a nonprofit, now I'm ready to move forward on things. But you have a lot of things that you really need to manage. And it really wasn't until I hired someone to help me that I realized I'm actually doing a whole lot of stuff. And it's very, very normal for you to get burned out or to feel like you have just had it, and that people aren't putting in as much work as you're putting in. But that's what I want to talk to you about today, because really and truly, no one's going to put in as much work as you do. And that's the bottom line. This is important to you. You started it, you began it, you're running it. It's what you think about all the time. It's what you eat, sleep, and think, 24/7. No one else is going to think about it in that way. And there are people that are going to come alongside you, and they're going to be passionate about what you do and what your program stands for. But everybody's living their own lives and they're busy, and it's just really important that you make sure that you are keeping that in consideration every time you ask your board to be more engaged or to do more than you might like what they're currently giving you. Now, I do feel very lucky to have the board that I have. I think that it's been over time, and it's been with very low expectations. You have to be grateful for the people that you have, because those people are donating their time to you. So I don't ask my board to do very much. I depend on them a lot for guidance And that actually brings me to my second tip, which is you want to create your board from people who are passionate about your organization. Maybe you've talked to them and you have, they said, oh my God, I love what you're doing. This sounds awesome. Let me know if you ever need any help or if you ever need anyone to, assist you on anything or whatever. Those are the people you want because they understand your mission. A lot of times we go out and we find board members, or we start with the idea that we need to have, a lawyer, and we need to have an accountant, and we need to have this, and we need to have that. You don't need to have anybody. You need to have people who are passionate about the end goal and your vision and your mission, and they understand what it is that you do. Those are the types of people that you need to have on your board, because those are the types of people who are going to have the most amount of passion that you can ask for. So you never want to be looking at your board as in like, I need these specific people to help me build my organization. I truly feel like that's the wrong way to look at board members. I think that when you are especially just starting out and you're creating your first board, it's okay to have friends. It's okay to have people who just support your mission and your vision. Okay, you want to have people that will tell you the truth if you come to them with something, or that know the community well enough to say, hey, I don't think our community is going to go for this, or know how the constituents that you serve are going to feel about certain language in your nonprofit. So you have to be thinking about your main goal is your mission and your vision always. So never ever think of it from the perspective of, I need this person so that I can use their publicity or something, or I can use their skills. Keep those two things separate. That's how I think of running a nonprofit. Keep those two things separate. You're going to have people who are your board members who are going to help you make your mission flourish and your vision come to life. You want those people. Your advisors and people that you're going to partner with and those types of people are all separate. And I think sometimes people get those mixed up, because then you start asking your board to do a lot more than just advise you as a board. And that's what the main purpose of your board is supposed to be. So those are my first 3 tips. I know there are a lot like mixed in there. But my next tip, the 4th tip, is really to think of your board members as guardrails. So if you can think of your nonprofit as your baby, right, you're going to think of your board as your guardrails to keep your baby from getting into trouble or making some wrong decisions or anything like that. They're just there to help guide the organization in the right direction. And I think once people, and founders especially, learn that piece of it, you can start looking in other places for, if you need an accountant to help you can ask them, hey, can I use your accounting skills to help me get my organization in the right place? Hey, can I use your marketing skills to help me get my organization out into the public? Then you're directly asking for what you need. But a lot of times people will they will recruit board members for tasks that they need to get done for their organizations under the guise of a board member. So I don't want you guys to think that way. I stress that so much. I think I stressed that in another video that I had as well, but it is extremely important, and I really feel like you take people for granted that they are giving you their time just to simply guide your organization. And when you think of it from that perspective, you really know how you can use the people that have decided to give you their time. You learn how to use them to the benefit of everyone, right? To the benefit of them providing their information and their guidance, and to the benefit of you without taking them for granted at some point or feeling let down from maybe their lack of participation or work that you want them to do. This is not to say that your board will never help you. It's just to say that you're not recruiting them specifically for that help, which is why I have a video on why I don't have a working board, because I've been able to keep my board members on for quite a long time, and the same board members for a very long time. And every time I ask, like, hey, do you guys want to stay on board? You know, they're happy to stay on board because they're invested. They've seen this thing grow from the very beginning. They've helped guide it from the very beginning. It truly is like raising a child. And so I want you to think of it from that perspective. When you bring your board members on, bring on people who you know can help guide your organization. They don't have to have any major awesome expertise or any knowledge background. It could be someone who's also a constituent that, works or understands the people that you work with. It could be a teacher. It could be anybody that you feel can add value to the conversation. Okay, because each time you guys meet up, it's a conversation. That's what you're having with your board. You have an agenda and you're going through it to make sure that you guys are hitting all the points and figuring out all the things that you need to know about your organization in order to build it into something that can spread. My fifth tip is to realize no one's actually letting you down, and your job as a founder is really to check in. I thought when I first started my nonprofit that I might want to do like every month we need to meet. And at the very beginning, you may feel like you need to meet up once a month. And if your board's okay with meeting once a month because they understand also that you need to build this thing up and you guys need to build some rapport and some connection and engagement, then you can do that. But eventually, I think that the 3-month every quarter term is more reasonable for a board. Now, I only have a board of 5 members, and I feel like, us meeting even every 3 months is sometimes very tough, right? So you wanna only make sure that you always have a quorum. As long as you have a quorum, you can make decisions and get things done. And a quorum basically is where you have enough people out of your group. So out of 5, you have 3. You have the majority of the people there so that you can make decisions and not be held up by people missing or absent. Excuse me. So you want to make sure that you are really focusing on that piece of it. And it does require work from you. It requires you to be way ahead of time to let people know that you're going to have a meeting and when that meeting is and where it's going to be held and all of those things. It's really, really important and critical actually that you do that in advance. And I had to learn this too. So you can't send out a meeting reminder, or a request to have a meeting the month of the meeting. You need to do that like 2 or 3 months in advance. And I've just gotten in the mode of putting my meeting schedule at the bottom so that all of my board members always know and they can always check back to see what date that was. And then I just confirm it, as we get closer. So also understand, are you able to put out that much information every month? Like when you're just starting out, you don't always have that much information to put out each month. And if you feel like I just need to update my board, then you can send them an email and then do your meetings every quarter. So it's really important to kind of think of what can I do? What am I able to do? And then also, what are they able to do? I mean, do they have enough time to meet once a month? Is there enough stuff to talk about once a month? You don't want to just have people at your meeting sitting there looking at you and you don't really have much to talk about or to share. Number 6, and I think this is a huge one. When you have your board, in order to keep engagement up, you want to also recognize your board members. Like, you want to show the world that you are so thankful that these people have decided to give you their time, that you're going to say thank you publicly. You want people to know who's on your board, who's helping to steer this organization and make it into what it becomes. Because that gives the board ownership, okay? Yes, you came up with the idea and yes, you created it, but it gives the board ownership of the idea of the nonprofit. It gives them a little bit of pride, right? To say like, yeah, this is what we've been doing. You want people to feel like they are part of this, because this is not just a one-person show. This is a community-led show, right? Like you're doing this usually for your community, or if you're doing it for another country or for the people of wherever, or for the youth of a city, whatever it is, it's a collective. It's not just a one-person show. And that's what I was talking about earlier when I say a founder syndrome. You don't want to get founder syndrome. When you're creating a nonprofit, you want that nonprofit to be able to run even if you were not in the picture. That would be your ultimate goal, right? Or to just not even be in existence because you've already fixed the problem. So I really want you guys to just focus on board engagement in that you're trying to let the world know that, hey, I've got this amazing board and these are the things that we together are doing. This is the organization that we together are building. And that should be really the message that you're talking about, even in your very first meeting. And if it's not your first meeting, you can go back to your next meeting and talk about like, hey, we're doing this together. And it's really important to all of us to make sure all of this is happening together. So that would be my biggest tip on this whole thing is you want to make people feel invested and engaged by recognizing them, highlighting them, saying who they are and like why you chose them and why they are important. Once you create this nonprofit, one of the things that you'll learn is that it's not about you anymore. It's really not. It's great that you started it, and when you talk to people, you can always say you're a founder of, but it's not about you anymore. It's about the people who are coming alongside you with the same goal to accomplish your mission and to help the people that you want to help. Number 7 is to make sure that they always feel like they have a place to put their ideas and input as well. When you are talking about things, you should always be coming from a kind of deference where when you're coming to the meeting, you're saying, hey, I have this idea, what do you think? And of course, there are going to be things that you're going to get upset about or you're going to feel very strongly about or whatever. I've come to my board with, feeling like I am, I am burnt out or I've got too much going on and it's becoming overwhelming. Those are the types of things you should be able to talk to your board about, and they want to help you solve those problems. That is what they're there to do. They're there to help you solve those problems. So when I hear the word board engagement from some of you, I'm worried that you're asking them to take it on as if it's their own all the time. Everybody's working their own jobs. They have other things that are important to them and they have donated their time to you. But that time has to be respected and it has to be used wisely. So when you come to the board meeting, before you even start your board meeting, you should have a goal of what you want to accomplish. Like, what actions do you want to take? What things do you want to have? What decisions do you want to come out of the board with? And then, you just want to make sure that you are using their time wisely all the time. And so I always schedule my meeting for 2 hours, but we try to get out of there in an hour and a half or an hour, or maybe I schedule it for an hour and a half, I'm sorry. And then we always get out of there usually within an hour. And if I think we're going to move to the hour and a half just to respect time, I try to let people know, like, okay, plan for this much time. But these are things that if you've created a good board, you guys should be able to move through decisions quickly, have healthy discussions about the decisions, and come to a conclusion. And if someone doesn't understand something or you want to clarify something, you can always talk about that offline later with that one specific person. And I guess my goal is to say, like, it's not going to start off as a normal organization that you may have already seen running, because those organizations had to go through their growing pains and you also will have to go through yours. Another thing you'll want to focus on is doing individual check-ins. A lot of times, even if it's just a text or an email directly to one of the board members that you have, you'll just want to do a check-in to see, like, hey, are you enjoying your time working with the organization? Is there anything you think I can do better? Are you okay with the meeting times? You always want to be doing check-ins with people just to be sure that you're respecting their time, respecting their effort, and respecting their input. So I would say that if you can just also schedule time to say, okay, I'm going to check in with this person on this day. I'm going to check in with this person. I'm going to check in with this person. And just make sure that you're always aware and have your finger on the pulse of your board. And if you want help, you can say, here are some areas that I need help in. Would anyone be willing to help on any of these areas? And totally fine if not. And then you have a plan B. Like, if that plan B is, I'm planning to hire someone, or I really need help in this way, I'm going to hire some interns, or does anyone have any suggestions on how we can get help to do these specific things? Those are things that you can that's a way for you to ask for help without asking any one board member or any board member directly, can you do this? Or I'm expecting you to do this. Sometimes we go into this with this entitled feeling of, well, I created this thing and you're on the board and now you should help me. That's totally the wrong way, and I don't want any of you to go out doing that. Another tip, and my last tip really, is to allow them to invest in the organization in their own ways. So sometimes you may not see that investment for years down the road, but if someone is there, and if one of your board members are there and they say, hey, I'd like to help you by creating X, Y, and Z, whatever it is, and you need that help, then let them help you. If you come up with a few things that you need help in, it's more clear for them to look at something and say, oh, okay, I can help you do this task, or, you know, I'd be willing to do this, and put time limits and time frames and boundaries around what you're asking. You have to just let people show you where they want to help. And you can also ask, when you bring new board members on, where would you like to help the program, or how would you like to be a part of the program? Basically, you can just say, I'd just like to provide advice. I'd like to help you raise funds. I'd like to work with the kids. I'd like to do, I mean, whatever it is that you have, just lay those different things out. A lot of times we don't get the help we need because we're not asking for it in a way that allows people the option to say yes or no. Sometimes we're just laying out the information that we need, and the only option to say is yes. But I remember being on many boards where I don't want to do the options that they've laid out. My expertise is somewhere different, and my passion lies somewhere different than what they need at that time. So you have to give people a way to say yes and a way to say no. And you have to respect that, whatever that is. So yeah, I think when it comes to board engagement, you guys, really it just matters that you understand that this really is a hard truth. And I do go deeper into this in the academy. This will be one of my whole modules that I'll be talking about in the academy, because it really does require like setting up a whole process of how you're going to check in and when you're going to check in, and setting up your board agenda. There's a lot of other things that go into all of this, and keeping them engaged, how to recognize them, all of these types of things. And we will be talking about all of that in the academy. So if you weren't able to join the academy, you can also sign up on the Social Life Diaries and just email that you want to be on the wait list. And when we open it up again, I will add you to that. But anyway, yeah, I hope that's helpful, and I hope those tips were good. I was just trying to give you kind of the hard truth, and a way to not turn off potential and current board members from your organization by feeling that they are not engaged, because I think really you're missing the point of they are really truly just your guardrails. And if you want specific help, then you should probably be looking for either volunteers or interns, people who are there to specifically help you in the areas that you want help. So just remember that, and I hope that helps. I will see you guys on the next video, and don't forget to sign up for the Social Life Diaries at ashleytate.com. And thank you so much for watching. Bye guys.